Hello everyone, my name is Mandi Lynn. I'm the author of the fantasy novels Essence, Iron Mercy, and thriller novel She's Not Here, and also the creator of AuthorTube Academy. And today I am here to talk about different print-on-demand companies. So Reedsy has kindly invited me to join their channel today to compare and contrast a few different print-on-demand companies. For those who don't know me, I'm also an AuthorTuber here on YouTube, so if you would like to check out my channel, be sure to check it out. It will be linked down below, but I'm just gonna go ahead and jump on into the video. So the way this video is gonna work is that I have 3 paperback books, and they've all been printed through different print-on-demand companies. The companies are BookBaby, Blurb, and CreateSpace. So I'm going to be walking through, comparing, contrasting, and hopefully help you guys figure out what would be the best print-on-demand publisher for you. Now, a quick little disclaimer, it's very hard to compare different print-on-demand companies. And the reasoning for this is that even though it may be the same company, sometimes the company has different printing locations. So I live in the US, so when I order a book through CreateSpace, they're going to print it in their US location and ship it to me. But if you live in the UK or anywhere else, it's going to ship it over in that country's location. So it's different printers that are printing it, it's different employees. So it can come down to even every batch of books could be different. But today we're going to kind of compare broadly these different print-on-demand services to kind of see what they have to offer. So how I'm basically going to compare and contrast these books is that I have different points I want to look at as far as the way things are printed, you know, where the ISBN shows up, the quality of the cover itself, the quality of the ink inside, the quality of the pages, and different things like that. So I'm just going to start from the outside and work in. So in terms of the outside, I want to talk about the cover first. So the biggest thing with covers is that sometimes things don't line up here on the spine. And we can actually see that's an issue quite a lot here. So here we have CreateSpace, and you can see that the cover actually kind of overlaps a little bit this way, and the back cover is ending up here on the spine. Now, unfortunately, that is the case for most of these books. You can see it right here. This is the Blurb version. It's having the same issue. The only one that is not really having this issue is this one here, and this one is actually BookBaby. So they're the only one that does not have an issue with the lineup of the spine. So next, I kind of want to talk about the actual quality of the cover. So one thing I noticed when I was getting all these covers is that some of their pages were thicker than others. So we have CreateSpace and Blurb right here, and they're kind of like your average paperback. But then we have BookBaby here. So the one difference I have with BookBaby is that it's a lot thicker. This first page here is actually very thick, and you can feel the difference when you hold the BookBaby version versus the Blurb and CreateSpace version. So that just really comes down to what your personal preference is. I personally don't like a super thick first page, especially on a paperback. I like my paperbacks to be a little bit bendy. And on that note, when you are a reader and you're reading a book, that means sometimes they might have to crack the spine open a little bit more, which will then ruin the spine. So next, I want to talk about the ISBNs on the back cover. So this is an example of a perfect ISBN on the back cover. It's right here. This is CreateSpace. CreateSpace will actually generate your ISBN for you, so you don't have to worry about anything. They plop it right on there for you. Now this is BookBaby. BookBaby actually has no ISBN, so you should note that you actually have to put the ISBN and generate an ISBN yourself for your book. Because if you don't have an ISBN on your book, if your book is like this, sometimes bookstores won't want to sell your book for you because they need an ISBN to scan. In terms of the cover, the last thing I want to talk about is sort of the vibrancy of the photo. So by this I kind of sort of mean I'm talking about the saturation. So one thing I noticed is that the saturation of all the colors on the covers were more or less the same, except for this one in the front here. And I'm not sure if you guys can see it on camera. This is Blurb, but it's slightly more vibrant. So I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It kind of depends on the author and how vibrant they wanted their colors to be. Alright, so now we're going to be moving on to the inside of the books and kind of comparing that. So to move on, I would like to point out first the colors of the pages. So you can see here that we have some pretty different colors. This is Book Baby right here. It's cream, but as you can tell, it's a little bit more than cream. It's actually almost orange. Then we have Create Space here. This is their white page, and then Blurb, this is also their white page. So you'll notice that these two white pages are more or less the same. Create Space is a little more gray. I personally prefer cream colored pages because it's less harsh on the eye and it tends to look a little bit more natural. Of course, the color of the page tends to depend on the reader and the publisher and different things like that. But I would like to say that this might be a little bit too much of a cream color. To kind of give you an idea of what the cream color should be, I brought in a copy of my novel Essence. This is the Create Space printing, and it is actually cream. You can see that it's close to this color here, but it's a little more subtle, so it's less harsh on the eye, and it doesn't pop out to you as, oh my gosh, this page is cream. When it comes to the color of your page, you want to think in terms of the most subtle thing possible. If you have a very white page, it's going to be too bright and it sticks out to the reader and it's almost distracting. If you have a dark cream page, it also sticks out because people are now noticing these pages of the book are darker than most books. But if you have that subtle cream color, then people aren't distracted by the color and they're just reading the words. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is actually the grid lineup of the text itself. So this basically means, is everything in a grid? Is it all lining up nicely? Is the start of this page the same as the start on this page in terms of positions? And actually the easiest way to check this is taking a page of the book and holding it up to the light. So when you hold it up to the light, the page of the book should become transparent, so you can see the text on this page as well as a little bit of the text on the last page. And when you do that, you want to see if the text is lined up. Is there a space in the same spot on both pages? And if there is, that means your text is lined up. Now, for all three books I have here, the text is lined up for every single one of them. So in terms of Blurb, Book Baby, and Create Space, I haven't encountered any issues in terms of the grid pages. So the last thing I'm going to be comparing on the books is actually the ink quality. So this, it kind of varies from person to person in terms of what they prefer, and it's basically matte ink versus somewhat shiny ink. So this is something that's very subtle. Matte ink, when it's printed on the page, it kind of looks very flat. And glossy ink, it's very subtle, but it's almost like there's a little bit of lift, like it looks like the text is lifting off of the page, and it's very subtle that you may have not even noticed it until you sit down and start comparing books. Now, in case you're wondering, Book Baby has a slightly glossy ink, so they do have just a very, very subtle shine to the text when you're reading it. And again, it's so subtle that most people probably won't notice it. Create Space and Blurb, however, have a matte text. So their text is very flat, and it's very subtle. If you want to spot the differences, you really do have to sit down, kind of shine it in the light and see if there's a reflection on the text or not. So that is the comparison of all three of these printers. We have Book Baby, we have Blurb, and then last but not least we have Create Space. So they all have their pros and cons in terms of printing quality, but again, I want to remind you that even though my cases, things may not be lined up, the colors may be different, that may not be the case for everyone. If you have a printer in the UK versus a printer in the US, things could be different. So you really, what I recommend doing if you are self-publishing your book and you're trying to decide on a print-on-demand service, I would suggest doing exactly this. Ordering your book in all three editions, or even more, because these aren't the only print-on-demand services out there, and just kind of compare and contrast. Or you could buy other self-published authors' books and kind of... Thank you so much, Reedsy, for inviting me over. I had a great time. I hope you guys found everything in this video helpful. If you did, be sure to let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to say hi to me on my YouTube channel, Mandi Lynn Vlogs.